It's happened. A major war has just kicked off in the Middle East. We're talking a massive military operation by the United States and Israel against Iran. And Iran, they're already striking back hard all across the region. So how in the world did we get here and what happens next? Let's break down this incredibly fast-moving and dangerous situation. And right away, this was the response from Iran's military. Absolutely chilling. No talk of de-escalation, no hesitation, just a clear, direct promise of massive retaliation. Right from the get-go, the tone for this whole conflict was set. And on the other side, an equally blunt warning. In his speech announcing the strikes, Donald Trump told the Iranian people to stay inside, basically signaling the unbelievable scale of military force that was about to be unleashed. You've got two incredibly defiant messages here, setting the stage for a huge conflict. Okay, so let's nail down the core facts. On Saturday, major combat operations began. And look, this wasn't some small surgical strike. We're getting reports of explosions all across Tehran and several other cities. This is a full-scale assault. So the big question is, why now? What is the official justification for an attack of this magnitude? Let's really dig into the case that the United States is presenting to the world.
Officially, it all boils down to one key idea: preemption. The White House is framing this entire operation as a defensive move. They're saying it's all about neutralizing what they call imminent threats from Iran, threats to the U.S., its troops, and its allies in the region. But the official reasoning goes way deeper than just one imminent threat. The White House is painting this as the climax of nearly 50 years of hostility. They're drawing a straight line from the 1979 embassy hostage crisis through that horrific 1983 Marine barracks bombing in Beirut and connecting it all the way to Iran's proxies and the October 7th attacks on Israel. The message they're sending is crystal clear. This isn't about one thing, it's about a decades-long pattern of aggression. And just look at the wording of these goals. This is not ambiguous language, it's absolute. The objectives are to destroy Iran's missile capabilities, annihilate its navy, and totally neutralize its network of proxies around the region. This isn't about containing Iran, it's about completely dismantling its ability to project military power. So when you boil it all down, the one point you hear repeated again and again is this: the ultimate, non-negotiable red line for the US is a nuclear-armed Iran. They're arguing that this whole operation is designed to make sure that can never, ever happen, framing it as a way to prevent an even more catastrophic war down the line. Okay, now let's flip the script and look at Iran's response. Because as these attacks were happening, the Iranian government was already putting together a swift and incredibly forceful reaction, not just in its words, but as we're about to see, in its actions. And almost immediately, the human cost of these strikes became brutally clear. Iranian state media started reporting absolutely devastating civilian casualties. One report claimed that a strike on a girls' elementary school in Minab killed more than 80 schoolchildren. And the targets here go way beyond just military sites. This looks a lot like what's known as a decapitation strike. Iranian officials are claiming these attacks were direct assassination attempts on their highest leaders, including the Supreme Leader Khamenei. In fact, satellite photos showed his office complex in Tehran was heavily damaged. So on the world stage, Iran is making its case very clearly. They're framing this as a massive violation of international law. They argue the attack is a breach of the UN Charter itself, an act of flagrant aggression that happened while sensitive negotiations were supposedly ongoing, deliberately blowing up any chance for a peaceful solution. And then the threats escalated even more. This wasn't just a promise to defend themselves. It was a vow to inflict a historically unprecedented lesson on their attackers. That signals a retaliation far beyond just a tit-for-tat response. And that retaliation wasn't just talk. It came almost immediately. This conflict did not stay contained within Iran's borders for long. It has now exploded across the entire Middle East, putting the whole region on a war footing. I mean, just look at this list. Iran has unleashed missile and drone strikes on a huge network of U.S. military bases. We're talking Al Udeid in Qatar, bases in Kuwait and the UAE, the U.S. base in Erbil, Iraq, and even the headquarters of the U.S. Fifth Fleet in Bahrain. This is a coordinated, widespread counteroffensive hitting at least 7 different countries. And just like that, the conflict gets wider. Nations that simply host U.S. bases are now directly in the line of fire. Both Saudi Arabia and the UAE have come out and condemned Iran for violating their sovereignty. This is not a US, Israel, and Iran conflict anymore. This is now a full-blown regional crisis, and it's pulling in more countries by the hour. So we're left with this one, frankly, terrifying question.
All the pieces are now in motion for a catastrophic, multi-front war that involves several regional powers and a global superpower. The critical question isn't how this started anymore. It's, where does it stop?